All right, let's talk bird photography. We're going to go from just taking a record of a bird to creating a real piece of artwork. And we'll do it by breaking down the key rules of composition that are going to totally level up your shots. So, have you ever had this happen? You get a photo of a gorgeous bird, everything's technically perfect. It's sharp, the colors pop, but it just falls a little flat. It doesn't have that wow factor, you know? It's a great record of the bird being there, but it doesn't feel like art. Well, that gap, that's what we're closing today. And 9 times out of 10, the secret ingredient is composition.
Okay, so here's the plan. We'll kick things off with a big idea, the art of subtraction. Then we'll get practical with mastering the center frame, creating balance with the rule of thirds, and using space to tell a story. And to wrap it all up, we'll talk about how to move beyond the roles and really find your own style.
All right, let's jump right in. This first idea is, honestly, the most important thing we'll cover. Before we get into any specific rules, we have to talk about a whole new way of looking through your lens.
It all boils down to this one simple quote. See, great photography isn't about what you can cram into the frame. It's about what you can remove. A truly powerful photo is clean, it's focused, and it knows exactly what it wants you to see.
So what does that actually mean when you're out in the field? It means you're on a mission to hunt down distractions. That annoying little branch poking in from the side, that super bright spot in the background. You physically move yourself, you change your angle, you do whatever it takes to get that clutter out of your shot. The goal is simple: make that bird the absolute star of the show.
And here's the thing, this is a total mindset shift. You have to do this work in the camera. Don't fall into that trap of thinking, whatever, I'll just crop it out in post. No way. The most powerful photos are composed with intention, right there in the moment.
Okay, now that we've got that core idea of subtraction down, let's build on it. We're going to start with the absolute foundation of composition, a technique that pretty much everyone starts with, and for a really good reason. This is what's known as center frame composition. In Japan, they call it Hinomaru kozu, which is a nod to the Japanese flag, the red circle right in the middle. It's exactly what it sounds like. You put your subject, the bird, smack dab in the center of your photo. Simple, direct, can't miss it. Now, this technique has its pros and cons for sure. On the plus side, it's super easy to nail your focus since you're using that reliable center autofocus point. It really highlights the bird's power and all those tiny details, which makes it perfect for those identification field guide type shots. But the downside? It can start to look a little, boring. It's static and it doesn't really give you any sense of the bird's world.
So, if you're going to use the center frame, how do you make it look awesome instead of amateur? 2 big tips. First, blur out that background. Use a really wide aperture, like a low f number, to just melt everything behind the bird away. That makes the centered placement feel intentional and cool. And second, look for symmetry. If the bird is looking right at you, or if it's preening its feathers in a balanced way, that natural symmetry just works perfectly in the middle of the frame.
All right, once you've got the center frame down, it's time to graduate. Let's move on to something that's going to make your photos look instantly more dynamic and, honestly, more professional. It's time to talk about the rule of thirds. You've probably heard of this one. It's like the most famous rule in all of art, not just photography. Just picture a tic-tac-toe board drawn over your photo. The whole idea is to get your subject out of that center box. You want to place it along one of those lines, or even better, right on one of the 4 spots where the lines cross. But why does this work so well? Well, for some reason, our brains just love it. Placing the bird off-center creates this wonderful sense of balance and movement. Our eyes are naturally pulled to those intersection points. Plus, it's a great way to include some of the background, which makes the whole shot feel way more alive and deliberate. So how do you actually use this? It's simple. First, get that grid in your head. A lot of cameras will actually let you turn on a grid overlay in your viewfinder, which is super helpful. Second, focus on the eye. The bird's eye is everything. Try to put that eye right on or really close to one of those 4 intersecting points. And last, pay attention to which way the bird is looking. If it's facing right, put it on the left-hand line. If it's facing left, put it on the right. And that idea right there, it leads us perfectly to our next point. Okay, so composition isn't just about where you stick the bird in the frame. It's also about the empty space. And this, my friends, is where you go from just taking a nice photo to actually telling a story. Yeah, it sounds a little weird, but the empty space in your photo is just as important as the bird itself. It's what we call negative space, and it's not just dead air. It's an active player in your photo.
It guides your eye, it sets the mood, and it gives your subject room to, well, to exist. It's a huge part of the story. And just look at the difference it makes. When you leave space in front of the bird, in the direction it's looking, you're creating a story. You immediately wonder, what's it looking at? Or where is it about to fly? The whole photo feels open, expansive. But if you do the opposite, if you push the bird up against the edge of the frame it's facing, it just feels wrong. It's cramped, it's tense, it's like the bird has flown into a wall. It's a dead end, visually speaking.
So we've gone through the basic building blocks, but here's the real secret. The goal isn't just to blindly follow rules. The real goal is to know them so well that you know exactly when and how to break them. That's how you develop your own unique voice. So let me throw out a more advanced idea for you. Once you're feeling good about the basics, try this. Make the bird a small part of the photo. Instead of it being the main hero, make it a tiny character in a giant, epic landscape. Pull back, zoom out, and show us the world that this bird lives in. The payoff for this is huge. You're not just taking a picture of a bird anymore. You're capturing its entire habitat, the feeling of the season, the whole atmosphere. It becomes this rich environmental story. Of course, it's also harder to do. You've got a much bigger, more complicated scene, so that whole art of subtraction thing becomes absolutely crucial. You have to arrange all those background elements so they support the bird, not overwhelm it. So let's recap the whole journey we've been on. You start by mastering the center frame to get that tack-sharp focus. Then you move on to the rule of thirds to bring in balance and artistry. You learn to use space to tell a story. And once all that stuff is basically muscle memory, that's when you can start to intentionally break the rules and really create a style that's all your own. And this is maybe the biggest takeaway of all. Remember, composition is a means to an end. It's not the end itself. These rules aren't some strict list of commands you have to obey. Think of them as tools. They're just there to help you build a photo that's more powerful, more beautiful, and that actually says something about what you felt when you clicked the shutter. At the end of the day, these rules are just a guide. They're not a cage. You now have the tools to go way beyond just taking a snapshot. So the real question is, what story are you going to tell?